All right. So good afternoon. Welcome everyone. Welcome for those who's coming for the second part, and welcome for those that was here before. We continue our study today with Andrei Moreira, and he's gonna talk now about the family conflicts in the light of the gospel according to Spiritism. But before that, let me quickly read a quick bio about Andrei that he provided us. Very quickly, Andrei Moreira is the son of Geraldo Dácio and Madalena Souza. He is a homeopath, thank you, the Czech doctor, and family constellation system therapist. President of the Magical Spirit Association of Minas Gerais since 2007. Writer of original and mediumistic content for the Spirit Dias da Cruz, fully donating the rights to the Spirit Association of Minas Gerais. Andrei has been a Spiritist lecturer for 20 years and has also coordinated communication regarding humanitarian trips for Fraternity Without Borders, which we're going to talk a little bit in the end of the lecture as well, which is a non-profit, non-governmental organization that shelters more than 12,000 orphan children in Mozambique and Madagascar. All right, so let's go ahead and have Andrei here. Thank you, Andrei.
So good afternoon, everyone. It's my pleasure to be back to Toronto once again and to share with you a little bit about Spiritism and what we could conclude about this subject. So today we're going to talk about family conflicts in the light of the gospel according to Spiritism. And the first thing that we need to know is that a family is not formed by chance. So family is a well-ordinated system that is truly programmed in the spiritual realm in order for us to give an opportunity to grow, to learn, and to develop our abilities to love. That is very important to know, because when we come back to a new incarnation, we choose those tests and those situations that we need in order to provide us the opportunities to develop the virtues that we choose it to develop in that specific period of time. That means that whenever we contact ourselves between incarnations and we get in touch with our spiritual needs, we define which kind of abilities or which kind of virtues we are in need to develop, and then we choose the situations that could allow us to develop that kind of thing. So that's how we choose in which family we are gonna incarnate, in which country, in which period of time, in which society, and the whole characteristics of each incarnation. This means that we choose when we have the ability to choose, when we have the spiritual elevation that allow us to choose. When we are not in a situation of awareness or consciousness to choose by ourselves, so the spiritual mentors choose for us the spiritual task. As a teacher, choose for a student the specific tasks that student need to perform in order to develop some knowledge or to have any. So when we are able to choose, we choose the specific situation, and that means one part of the process of incarnation. The other one is to attract by natural spiritual resonance, those who are in tune with our most deep spiritual reality. That means that by law of action and reaction, or cause and effect, we attract those that we have already had past or previous experience, and those that we need to balance something in order to have another opportunity together in the material world. And that's very important, because whenever we incarnate, we have to face difference. When we are only in the spiritual realm, we can deal with those that are most similar, that are more similar to us than different ones, because we are attracted by synchrony in the spiritual realm. But whenever we incarnate, we have to face difference. We have to deal with distinctive levels of consciousness or evolution, and these allow us to evolve a lot by having different types or different levels of experience in the material world. So Emmanuel says in the book Life and Sex that the vast majority of marriages are designed by our spiritual needs of spiritual redemption. That means that when we come to find someone to share life with, that it's not something that is conducted by chance or something that just happened. This is something that comes to our life as an opportunity to learn, an opportunity to grow, an opportunity to help those that are beside us to evolve as well. So that means that we need to understand the couple relationship in a more extended point of view, because it's very common that we hear someone saying, "Oh, I'm gonna tolerate this relationship till the end, and then I don't want to see this person once again. So I'm gonna stay in this relationship till the last minute, but then it will be the last minute." So this is the same thing that give the requirement to incarnate together once again. It's the same thing, because that means that we haven't understood yet what we need to learn from that experience. I'm gonna tell you a brief history of one situation like that. I took part into a Spiritist center in Brazil that has the name of a very brave woman, and this woman had a very difficult life and had the respect of her society by working a lot with respect, with ethic, and so on. And this woman had 6 biological children, adopted 3 more, 3 couples of elderly persons, and gave food for the community every day. So she was a very strong woman, and she was married with a man that called Dema. And Dema was really a demo, and they could never understand each other. They fight all the time. And I said that Demo, I used to say that Demo was not that smart, because one day he said to her, So you need to choose, or me, or this social work that you do. So after that, he looked for his clothes outside of the window, because she said, so you go and you just come back if you learn to respect the work I do. And then they continue to fight. And one day he tried to hit her. For a woman, we do not try to elevate not even a finger, nor a hand. But for a woman that is medium, a medium of material effects, this is the same as an attempt to suicide. So when he tried to hit her, her spiritual mentor manifested through cacophony. She was a medium, but she was not a spiritist, nor her mentor. So he decided to help her in his way. So he manifested, he incorporated, and all the person that were there at that room said that with one hand he elevated an how I say armário, yes, a closet, and it was a very heavy one, and with one hand he elevated that, he threw at the man, and he said to the others, who take him from above will deal with me. This was the mentor. Imagine if it was the obsessor one. But this was the spirits trying to help someone that really had the deserving, you know. So they were fighting all the time. And what is special in this situation is that she said all the time, I will stand by his side till the end of this incarnation, then I don't want to see him anymore. And she died young because she had a disease, a very common disease of the poor people in Brazil, which we call it the Chagas disease. So she passed away with 40 something. And the first message she sent through the psychography of Chico Xavier initiate like that: my son, I thanks God for the opportunity to reincarnate with your father. And then the son said, it's not mama. This is an obsessor. This can never be mama. Because my mom would say everything but that. But she continues. She said, when I came to the spiritual realm, I saw all the descriptions, all the registration, the registers, all the records, all the records of our past incarnations, and I came to understand that we have reincarnated together many times, and until now we haven't learned the true love. So from now on, I will be his spiritual guide, those familiar spirits that stay beside us, helping us to understand life and to deal with life. So she stood like that as a spiritual, as a family guide beside him, and he continued to be the Dhamma. When he was close to the disincarnation, the spirits were very concerned about him, and they had prepared a plan in order to help him. So pay attention in this situation. He did not deserve, but she deserved, and he was her spiritual debtor. Yeah, she was the spiritual. Debt spiritual. Debt. debt. She was his spiritual debt. So they helped him because of her deserving. This is what we call mercy. The mercy help us integrating all this process, and this is a very important thing to understand. If we should count only on our own deserving, things would be a little bit harder than they are. So when he discarnate, he passed through that process when the spirit remember all the recent reincarnation, and then make a non-evaluation of the
performance.
Yeah, of the performance and the conquistas, né? The achievements, yeah, exactly, of the achievements of that incarnation. When he passed through that, they wake up him in the spiritual realm with magnetic passes, and then when he opened his eyes, she was in front of him using the same dress, the bride dress that she used when they got married, because the spirits can produce this using the force of thought, the mental force, and she was very touched in her heart, and she stand her hand to him and said, "Wake up, Dema, we are still married once again." Took him and went to a spiritual hospital and stood by his side all the time, establishing another moment in their life. So this is a very important situation to understand. We need much more than toleration in order to take advantage of our familiar experience. Much more than tolerate, we need to forgive, we need to understand, we need to comprehend, we need to have patience, we need to support, we need to stand by side, we need to go there for them, we need to take advantage of each and every situation that we need. Because I don't know if you have already noticed, but all the relationships of couple relationships begins with an obsessive process. Have you realized that? Yeah. How we call this obsessive process? Passion. Yeah, exactly. Passion is an obsessive process, because passion is an emotive state where we think that we are seeing the reality, but we are not seeing the reality. We are seeing only the projection of our lacks, only the projection of our emptiness. During passion, we are only seeing that idealized situation of completude that we do not have yet. So we always see what lacks on us, on the other person. So we imagine, it's a fantasy, that that person and that situation has to give what lacks in our heart. But this is not true. This is just a fantasy. And a fantasy is not based on the reality, it's based on imagination. So, Jung says that in the first 6 months of passion, we are projecting ourselves in the other person. We are loving to be loved. We are loved to have someone to love. We are loving to not be alone. We are loving to have a relationship. So we love the situation and not the person. We love that condition. And then we get married. And a very important spiritual thing happens when we start to share our day with another person, this obsessive process disappear. And then we start to see the reality. And the reality of each and every person is that we have shadow and light, that we are good and bad things, that we have things, that we have virtues that we have already achieved, and others that we have to develop yet. So that's when love can happen. And that's very important, because love only happens when we see the shadow and the light of someone and we decide to give value to the light that the other person has. A couple is sustained by admiration. If you do not feed the admiration between the couple, the relationship fails. Because critics is the best tool that we have to destroy a relationship. Whenever we face the shadow of the other person, and whenever we give value to that, so that relationship starts to become weak, and we start to destroy the bond, that emotional bonds that we have with the other person. So admiration is something very important in a relationship. And we admire someone not because that someone is perfect or because that someone gives us everything that we need. We admire someone because we decide to focus on what is full in that person and not in what is empty. We decide to allow that person to explore his or her light. Whenever we do that, we give strength to the person to face the shadow part of her or of him. This is very important. Admiration is the basis of a good relationship. So when we get married and we start to divide our day with someone, so that come the real opportunities to grow. And that's when we need not only to tolerate, but also to forgive, to have patience, and to explore all the virtues that the gospel, according to Spiritism, suggests us to live in our family. But there is a very important virtue that we need to have in order to have good relationships. It's the virtue that sustains the life. Do you know the name?
Love.
No, love you have all the time. Respect. There's another one even more strong.
Charity.
Charity? No. This virtue is the mark of someone connected to life.
Tolerance.
Be humble.
No.
Tolerance.
No. I found very curious that we don't know this by heart.
It's been a while, sorry.
No, but I'm not talking only about couple relationships. This is the virtue that sustains all the relationships. And this is the virtue that sustains life.
Faith. Faith.
No.
Faith.
Faith.
Hope.
No.
Trust.
This virtue is gratitude. And it's very curious that we do not remember the gratitude. Why you do not remember gratitude? Because we are always looking for our lacks. We are always making a list of wishes, of desires, of something that is empty in our life. And that's how the children does. So, the children do. So, gratitude is a mark of someone that is connected to life. And there is a very important relationship where we have to develop gratitude. It's the most important relationship of our lives. That is with?
Ourselves.
No, we are not that important. It's the relationship is the most important relationship of our lives.
God.
God, no, not that high. Not ourselves, they are not that important.
Our partners.
Not our partners. And I found, again, very curious that we do not know how is the most important relationships of our lives. It's with our parents. Yes, the relationship with our parents is the root of life. It depends the way we deal with our parents to know the way we deal with life, the way we deal with our partners, the way we deal with profession, the way we deal with ourselves, the way we deal with God as well. The relationship with our parents is the very relationship that we try the virtues and the movement that sustain life. And in this relationship, there is only one virtue that allows us to have strength and to go forward in a balanced movement. That means gratitude. But this is the relationship that we have less gratitude, that we have more exigence, judgment, critics, and pity. But whenever we feel that, whenever we judge, whenever we critique, whenever we demand something, so we put ourselves in a false state of superiority that do not belong to us. In the relationship with our parents, only one thing is really important. One day, they got together and they gave us the opportunity to live. And that is so enormous. This is so important that this took them to a high state of honor that they never lose. It not depends on what come after that. But after that, we have a real life. That means human life, made by difficulties and virtues, shadow and light. So parents can give, cannot give, can give too much, can give too less, can stay, can go away. So we face the consequence of the relationship with them. And that's true. All that we live with our parents give us a mark. But the problem is that we look for this. What are our lacks, what we should have received, what we wanted to receive, what we think that they should have done. So we give a list of wishes, desires, lacks, and so on. Some of them are true, some of them are just fantasy. Okay, this is here. But here, in our body, there is 50% of our dad, 50% of our mom. All of us, the half is dad, the half is mom. What is the price of this? This worth it or not? How much?
Priceless.
Priceless. So, it's infinite. So we look for what we do not receive without thanking for what we received. How is the name of that?
Ingratitude.
The big one. This is not just an ingratitude. This is the most important one, ingratitude. So we can have an image about that. We can imagine a tree that was born in a soil, and then start to critique, start to judge that soil. Oh, it's not good enough. Don't have the nutrients that I need. Did not give me what it was expected to give me. So that tree decides to take away its roots from the earth. Does this make any difference for the soil? No. And for the tree?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's gonna die.
It's gonna die. So that's what happened when we start to critique our roots. When we start to critique the soil that gave us birth. When we look for what is empty in our parents' heart, we are judging and criticizing what comes and continues on us. That means that when we judge a specific parent, we are judging the half of us. And this is a process of emptiness. The more we do, the more empty we stay. It's the opposite of gratitude. When we have gratitude, we do not look for what is empty. We look for what is full. We look for what is the achievement of that situation. When we face what is full in our parents, we fool ourselves. We fulfill our hearts from within with the contact of that force. But when we look for what is empty, we feel continuously that lack. But we do not want to die. The result is that the tree without the roots on earth stay each day more weak, each day more insecure, each day more without self-control. But this tree does not want to die. So this tree needs someone to come and give water, and give food, and give care. So this tree overwhelms everyone that come in order to give what it is needed to become alive. It's the same that we do. Whenever we don't accept the love that our parents have to give us, so we look for this love in on other relationships that are not able to give us the love that we need. So gratitude is when we look for what can fulfill us truly from within. But I have a history of violence. I have a history of loneliness. I have a history of something that has produced something on me. So how can I deal with that? When we come to adulthood, so there comes a time that we need to face the responsibility of our lives. That means what characterizes an adult is the ability to deal with life. So what the adult do? The adult take the small child that we all have within and give to this child. Came to a really time of maturity. So it's very important for us to be responsible for our lives. And be responsible means I will deal with the consequence of everything that happened to me. Because we choose it, our own path. We choose it, our history. We choose it, our family. We choose it, the probabilities that we had. So when we came to another incarnation, we faced the natural consequences of our past. The natural consequences of what we have seeded on our own spiritual soil. So that means that everything that happened with us, it's something that is connected somehow to our spiritual history. So if you know that we are spirits, and if you know that when we incarnate we face the consequence of our own acts, we should not accuse those who are characters attracted to live with us our own scripts. We have written our scripts. We have decided our lives. This does not take out the responsibility of each and every one, because every person has their responsibility for its personal choice, but we have the responsibility for our lives. So what means that we are really mature persons is when we deal with the responsibility of our lives. Is when we face our emotional wounds in order to heal them, in order to give us what we need, and do not accuse our history. So in this relationship with our parents, only one thing is needed, and the thing is gratitude. And gratitude means I will look for what is full in this relationship, for what I have received, not what lacks. I will look for what was gave to me. Andrei, but I was someone that did not receive love. There's no one that didn't receive love. There's some persons that did not receive care, affection, but not love. Because when a mom decided not to abort and gave life to a son or to a daughter, to a child, so that mom loved that one. Every single person that is alive is marked by the love of the mother. That means that every and each cell of our body has this record, the record of the love, the force of love. And only us can contact that and can allow the strength of this force to come to reality. And that is done by gratitude. So gratitude is a decision. Gratitude is a decision to look for what is full in that relationship. So what do we need in order to develop gratitude? We need to give up. To give up what? To give up any judgment, any critics, to give up any demands, to give up any pity. Because all this situation take us to a point that we feel that we are superior than our parents, and that is not true. To give up is an active act. When we give up something, we decide to not live that something. We decide to not deal with that. It's not because we do not have a reason. Sometimes we have, but it means that that reason is not strong enough to guide me, or it means that I do not have the right to go through that path. So gratitude is the result of the connection with what is full in ourselves. There is no peace in our family when we do not have gratitude. The vast majority of the couple's problems are the consequence of relationships not healed with our parents. First of all, we need to face our own relationship with our parents, our own connection with our roots, so we can deal with the situations that happens between couple. There's no peace between brothers. There's no peace between parents and children without gratitude, without a decision to respect the order, to respect the roles that we played in that system. That's a very important thing to do. So what the gospel according to Spiritism suggests us is to live the virtues that Jesus teacheth us. The forgiveness, the compassion, the